A child is born with an unnaturally mature mind, calmly checking his status panel to find himself reset to level 1 and unnamed as his mother looks on lovingly. The king approaches, praised as your majesty by those present, admires the infant's eyes while the mother notes he has his father's mouth, and after his subjects kneel, the king names him Noah Ararat, the 13th imperial prince. When his title appears, Noah is startled by his sudden status, and after his water aptitude is revealed, the king assigns him the thief path due to the abundance of water clan members in Almeria. Noah then notices his water attribute marked as S+, which rises to SS when Cruz enchants it, shocking everyone as his power awakens on his first day and bringing celebration across the Mills Empire, a warrior nation in its golden age. Loved as the king's 13th son, Noah grows up admired for both talent and temperament, and 6 years after reincarnating, he realizes that while others see his water attribute as SS, only he can see it listed as SES, a hidden alteration added by his subordinates. The S comes from the thief title forced on him at birth, while the rest was named by his maids, and as he gains followers, Noah discovers his level has no upper limit. Though blessed with this rare trait, the maids see him as unusually calm, focused, and authoritative for a child, even if his body still limits him. One day, a maid named Evelyn informs him that the 2nd and 4th princes have arrived and urges him to eat properly before meeting them, causing slight pressure when he learns the crown prince is present, though he remains composed. After lunch, he bows to Albert Ararat, the crown prince, and Henry Ararat, the 4th prince, who praise his manners and suggests he could one day be a fine prime minister. Albert then presents a gift, calling in a servant struggling with a heavy box leaking dark energy, and when it is opened, agonized screams fill the room before fading to reveal a sword, leaving Noah wary of the ominous weapon. Albert urges Noah to accept the crown prince's gift, and unable to refuse, the boy grips the sword and learns it is Leviathan, the Empire's deadliest water blade that has killed over 100 would-be masters. Noah panics, but his brother reassures him that he would have died instantly if unworthy and that his SS rank water affinity lets him withstand its crushing weight, a realization that angers Noah for being knowingly endangered, though he holds his tongue. As they leave, Henry questions giving such a relic to a child, but Albert insists it belongs to true talent and that Noah must also learn the pain of being bitten by his own dog. That night, Noah notices Zoe's gloom and learns a flood ruined her family, cost her mother her job, and led relatives to push her toward a brothel for the imperial prince, which he immediately rejects by offering her mother a mansion job for 10 leans a month guarding the back door. He then grants them an empty house in the Western District, moving Zoe to tears, and reflects that his name as the 13th prince would be stained if the girl who raised him worked in a brothel, declaring her his maid for life. Summoning his butler, Dylan, Noah orders him to buy as much land as possible in flood-stricken Dasso to prevent desperate families from being exploited, earning Dylan's astonished praise, though Noah's resolve comes from tragedies witnessed in a past life. When Dylan mentions the 700,000 lean cost, Zoe nearly faints, and Noah explains that most men earn 120 leans a year. Princes receive 8,000, and despite taxes and gifts, his household holds only 500,000, leaving a 200,000 lean shortfall. Ignoring Dylan's warning that the land south of the imperial capital was a royal gift, Noah orders it sold, choosing to accept his father's punishment and believing nobles must sacrifice themselves for the people, a resolve that moves Dylan and reveals they both come from flood-stricken Dao. The next day, as preparations are made, Henry learns Noah plans to buy land in Dasso for the victims and notices the water magic sword Leviathan among the cargo. Noah admits he feels its power, but has received no response and is only bringing it along, then learns from Henry that the sword has its own will and may reject him, recalling the grim fate from his vision and being urged not to use it. Carrying Leviathan, Noah departs for Dasso and finds the city ruined by flood. There, he sends Dylan to the government office to purchase land through official records since deeds were lost, taking full responsibility himself, then asks Zoe to guide him through the devastated alleys where even crops have rotted, showing total destruction. Though Zoe warns him not to get too involved, he insists on helping and they soon encounter the Empire's relief soup line, where Noah realizes the soup is nearly spoiled water. When an old man tells him it is better than nothing and inspectors arrive, Zoe explains Geralt oversees relief, and as Geralt smugly inspects the soup while his own portion is sent to his mansion, Noah steps forward and bluntly questions whether this is embezzlement, prompting Geralt to laugh at his audacity. He claims the region is in crisis and that those able to help deserve great rewards, effectively justifying his wealth while the people starve. But Noah firmly condemns him for enriching himself through others' suffering, prompting Galil to rage and call it an insult to Lord Rowan's rule. With Leviathan's image in mind, Noah sentences the inspector to death as the magic sword flies to his side and releases a surge of water, its painful power binding to him through sheer talent and resolve. Taking up the blade, Noah commands Leviathan to serve the people, declaring that true nobility lies in using strength for others, and when Garl attacks, Noah swiftly beheads him. The guards revolt, but Leviathan acts on its own, carving an immeasurable crater into the earth, drawing the ruling knight's captain to the scene in shock. As a subordinate accuses Noah of the killing, Lord Rowan Green recognizes him, rushes forward, and kneels before the 13th prince of the Mills Empire. explaining his ties to Henry's family and his duty to keep order before ordering everyone present to kneel in respect. Noah reports the embezzlement by Dasso's inspection official, justifies Geralt's punishment, exposes the accomplices, and leaves their fate to Rowan before ordering the communal super maid at royal quality, bringing joy to the starving townspeople. Later, Albert hears of his brother's actions and realizes Noah didn't submit to the raid dog but bent it to his will, proving his greater value. Summoned the next day, Noah enters the throne room expecting punishment for selling his southern lands, only for the emperor to thank him for stopping those who exploited Dao's tragedy. Believing Noah's arrival and deeds to be guided by God, especially his mastery of the water sword Leviathan, the emperor has crews test him again, revealing an SSS-ranked water attribute and convincing the ruler that Noah can greatly aid the empire. The scene shifts across the Mills Empire's capital, its political, cultural, and economic heart, where Noah heads to Reed Street after hearing of a musical performance, with Zoe joining him to repay her debt to her homeland. They enter a theater just as a pink-haired girl named Alici sings a sorrowful song about love turning into pain, and though her skill is amateurish, Noah senses her sincerity. The moment is shattered when a group of men storms in, led by a bald brute who orders her to stop, claiming her singing will never repay her late father's debt and implying she should sell her body instead. As Alici protests, Noah calmly intervenes, citing imperial law that forbids forcing children to inherit their parents' debts and condemns the man's actions as a crime. Enraged, the thug threatens him, only to be effortlessly subdued by Noah using Leviathan's power, forcing the men to flee while vowing revenge. Stunned spectators realize they are witnessing an imperial prince, and Noah, unfazed, praises Alici's singing and asks about her monthly expenses. Embarrassed, she admits she needs money for her mother's medical treatment, so Noah offers her a monthly payment of 25 leans, promising to raise it as she improves, allowing her to sing freely whenever she wishes. Later, he returns to his modest residence, where servants are cleaning his shoes, and asks about the men who caused trouble at the theater. Evelyn explains they are illegal moneylenders, essentially loan sharks, who later realize who they had offended and came to the palace gate to apologize, though Noah has them turned away, believing criminals have no right to approach an imperial prince at will. Henry arrives and praises Noah's firm stance, noting that leniency would diminish the imperial family's dignity. Noah agrees but says there is another reason, which he explains privately inside. He is supporting the singer and must be strict so the loan sharks understand she is not unprotected. Henry jokingly asks if the slap she gave him was strong, and Noah admits he is still dizzy. Henry remarks that Noah has grown far beyond others their age, especially Gary, who remains immature and ill-mannered, prompting Noah to reflect that although they are brothers, different mothers create different bonds, particularly between Henry and Gary who share one. Shifting topics, Henry notes Noah's mastery of the magic sword, and Noah credits Henry for teaching him that Leviathan possesses a will of its own. Curious how such a small child carries such a massive blade, the older brother watches as Noah summons the sword and explains it stays hidden in his sleeve in miniature form, a technique the weapon itself taught him. Henry is astonished, noting that Leviathan had been isolated as a national treasure for 2 centuries with no such records, making Noah's feat remarkable. That night, when the princes arrive at the gate and the lingering sharks bow, one impatient man insults Noah, only to be instantly subdued when Noah releases a trace of Leviathan's dominating power. Henry praises his brother's precise control. Hours later, Noah attends an invitation by carriage, where Radok escorts him into a grand hall of applauding nobles welcoming one of the king's favored sons. Asked about his weapon, Noah calmly identifies it as Leviathan, bestowed by Crown Prince Albert Ararat, leaving the crowd stunned and linking the sword to Almiri, the 13th prince's domain, until a single voice breaks the silence by mockingly comparing the legendary blade to a cheap glowing toy sword. Noah stares down the man who denies his insult, but Leviathan recognizes it and releases a choking miasma that drives the hall to madness until Noah orders it to stop, remarking that loyalty doesn't justify such excess after sensing the sword's anger at its master being disrespected. Radok applauds, praising the overwhelming power of national treasures, and the shaken guests quickly follow, acting as if they hadn't nearly died. Asked how to deal with the offender, Noah says to ignore him, since words from below never reach above, and the introductions continue. After meeting the famed merchant Lance Allison, Noah's focus shifts to Byron Allen, an uneasy administrator, and Cindy Allen, whose manners and watchful eyes reveal a former slave, unlike her upper-class adoptive father. When Byron admits he bought her because of her intelligence, Noah responds not with displeasure but admiration, encouraging such talent and even inviting Byron to his mansion to discuss the girl further. The crowd reacts as if Byron struck gold, their envy shifting to the merchant and his daughter as they leave, after which Noah tells Radok he knew she wasn't the real daughter because she always snapped her focus to the prince's sword, showing she had been guarding Allen from the start. Later, Noah visits the market and meets his brother Oscar, who invites him to browse Cobalt Street's antiques, a place full of priceless relics and convincing fakes. After searching, Oscar gives up, while Noah casually buys a strange book for 3, claiming simple curiosity. Oscar scoffs until he examines it and realizes it's a spell grimoire by the legendary mage Andrea, worth about 1,000 leans. Noah admits he didn't know its value, only that touching it boosted his wind magic. When his sword begins to tremble, he draws Leviathan and points it at the book, realizing it must possess its own will, as only such items can amplify his power. When the book opens, a shadowy spirit believed by Oscar to be a vengeful wind mage emerges, radiating danger enough to scare anyone except Noah Ararat, who calmly uses his magic sword's water power to disperse it with ease. Still shaken, Oscar worries about possible damage to the city, but Noah explains he aimed the attack upward, impressing his brother with his quick judgment. The antique shop owner, Alan Barsley, bows before them and, after witnessing Noah's skill with magical items, invites the princess to his shop to show a peculiar ring said to reveal its power only to its rightful owner. Though many have tried it with no result and Noah suspects it may be fake, Barsley insists it always returns after being discarded, proving its strangeness. Believing Noah has a natural affinity with unruly artifacts, Oscar urges him to wear it, and when he does, the ring glows, declares itself an SSS rank item, and acknowledges Noah as its true owner, causing a gray mass to envelop his body and form an armor that grants no stat boosts but feels like a unique entity with countless potential uses. Satisfied, Noah plans to pay Alan, but Oscar insists on paying and gifting the ring to encourage the potential he sees in his brother. After leaving the shop, Oscar gives Noah a ride home, where the boy is ambushed by a bald, lone shark seeking revenge. Noah instinctively activates his ring, forming a Leviathan-linked shield that blocks the attack, allowing a servant to subdue the assailant, leaving Oscar impressed by how quickly Noah mastered the item. Later, Noah returns to the theater where he met Alice, believing the threat gone, only to find two drunkards harassing her on stage. He intervenes by placing his shield between them, injuring their hands, then drives them out by slicing their clothes and humiliating them. Realizing the owner cannot refuse such patrons because they are his main customers, Noah buys the entire theater for 1,000 leans. Grateful, Alice asks how to repay him, and Noah simply urges her to sing diligently until even the emperor notices her voice, after which she performs a song that deeply moves the audience. As time passed, Noah Ararat was visited by Dead Marley, the general governor of Hajoy and Noah's assigned thief, a role traditionally given to princes to teach them governance and authority. Dead explained that despite an imperial order to control Hajoy's frequent river floods, the fertile region remained in danger because the Ministry of Finance refused to release the required funds. Realizing the cause, Noah immediately confronted Finance Commissioner Maid, who tried to dismiss the matter by claiming the emperor had exempted Hajoy from taxes out of compassion, leaving no money available. Noah bluntly shut that down, pointing out that tax exemption was kindness, not an excuse, forcing Maid to finally admit the treasury was instead being spent on building the emperor a new summer retreat. Noah finally lost patience and accused the commissioner of insulting Hajoy by choosing a vacation home over flood relief, even threatening to report him to the emperor, which made Maid panic and kneel in fear. Noah agreed to let it go if the funds were released at once, and the commissioner hurried off, leaving Dead Marley stunned that such a young prince had forced a crown official to submit without resistance. The governor apologized and departed to handle the flooding with the restored budget. Soon after, Noah met Emperor Ararat, who praised his swift resolution and reminded him that information is a weapon that must always be sharpened. Noah said he had only acted naturally, but the emperor replied that doing the right thing is never easy and proudly acknowledged his 6-year-old son. Noticing Leviathan had adjusted to Noah's size, the emperor admired his control and recalled the gala incident, deciding the boy needed guidance, so he summoned Damian Noble, the empire's greatest swordsman, who immediately asked Noah for a duel. Though hesitant, the emperor allowed it after Damian insisted he was testing talent, not skill. Invited to attack freely, Noah charged as Leviathan's memories guided him, and to everyone's shock he disarmed Damian in moments. Acknowledging Noah's mastery, Damian knelt and admitted he had nothing to teach. Laughing, the emperor appointed Noah chief examiner for this year's knight selection, and Noah accepted the duty, knowing warriors across the empire would now fight under his authority to earn knighthood. The emperor asks whether his son plans to choose candidates by raw strength or by a final victor, and Noah explains that he has abolished regional preliminaries, so all selection battles will be held in the imperial capital, since the empire is too vast to monitor fairly, and he does not want true talent to be overlooked. Later, while Zoe serves him tea at his mansion, Noah asks if people from her village plan to apply, and she says they do because it is their only chance to rise above ordinary lives, which is why they usually send one representative each year. Noah tells her that with the regional filter gone, anyone may participate, making her both happy and troubled. After pressing her, he learns that villages like Dasso can only send one person because travel and lodging in the capital are extremely expensive, forcing the entire town to pool donations for a single hopeful. Wanting to remove this obstacle as well, Noah declares he will cover all candidate expenses so no talent is missed, astonishing Zoe despite her concern over the cost. Calmly, Noah says the solution is simple and summons Dylan, ordering him to purchase every vacant house in the imperial capital. When space proves insufficient, Noah orders the butler to build a dormitory and has Dylan summon merchants to discuss feeding the candidates. Then during a meeting with Byron Allen, he is surprised by a low food estimate that the merchant claims is a special price for the 13th prince, a claim Noah bluntly rejects, embarrassing the merchant for underestimating him. Byron Allen then explains that a servant recruitment test will run alongside the knight selection and asks about candidate tendencies, prompting Noah to remark that placing a merchant-controlled woman in the palace would grant fast information and even greater gains if the emperor favored her, leaving the merchant shaken. Since payment is already made, Noah agrees to recommend the candidate only if he truly approves of her. Satisfied, Byron Allen kneels, pledges loyalty, and asks to display the prince's crest on his shop, to which Noah warns that betrayal will never be forgiven. That night, riding home, Noah reflects that bringing Byron Allen under his command marks a clear rise in status and a step toward greater power. Noah suddenly notices his water status dropping and realizes something is wrong in Almeria, so he orders Zoe to have the carriage head straight to the palace to see Emperor Ararat. When he meets his father, the emperor already senses trouble before Noah can explain, and a servant soon confirms that a rebellion has begun. Asked to judge the situation, Noah reasons that the drop in his rank means the uprising is limited, which matches reports of about 5,000 rebels. When the emperor asks if Noah will handle it himself, Noah declines, saying he is too young, unfamiliar with battlefields, and unlikely to be accepted by soldiers. If a prince must lead, it should be one of his brothers. Asked who, Noah recommends Henry, arguing that a direct and careful suppression is needed, and Henry is the most prudent choice. Satisfied, the emperor agrees and orders Henry to be summoned. Soon after, the 21-year-old fourth prince departs by carriage with Noah, questioning why Noah did not take advantage of the mission in a warrior nation. But Noah replies that the situation is too sudden and poorly understood, and even if he survived, countless soldiers would die. Sensing danger through Leviathan, Noah halts the carriage and steps out alone, unwilling to involve his brother once he realizes he is the target. Hooded fighters soon surround them with water traps, revealing themselves as Almerian rebels. When one attacks, Noah cuts him down and calmly defeats the rest, overwhelming them one by one with Leviathan's power and leaving them unconscious. His brother praises his rapid growth, while Henry notes that the rebels seem unusually cavalry-focused. Though questioned about interrogation, Noah explains the rebels would likely kill themselves, so intimidation was enough. Remembering that Almeria lacks strong war horse production, Noah acts the next day by summoning merchant Byron Allen, threatening death if he speaks, then explaining the rebellion and the suspicious cavalry force. Giving him 10,000 leans, Noah orders him to buy all available horse feed and ignore human rations, reasoning that Almeria lacks a war industry and relies on imported horses with limited supply. When Byron worries this could cause looting, Noah admits that is exactly the goal, earning the merchant's impressed loyalty as he begins the plan immediately. The emperor summons Noah and reveals that the captured assassins confessed they plan to kidnap him as leverage, not kill him, though Noah doubts their honesty and notes that liars break easily, earning his father's approval and assurance he can detect lies. The emperor commends Noah for swiftly handling the rebels, explaining that his capture would have made things worse, and praises his decision to weaken them by targeting their horses rather than starving the soldiers. Noah is stunned that his father already knows about the order to buy horse feed, and the emperor adds that while Albert wanted to starve the rebels as a warning, Noah's choice to cripple their mobility using his own money was smarter. He pats Noah's shoulder, praising his bold ideas and quick action, leaving Noah overwhelmed by the attention, then rewards him by granting permission to add a sword to his crest, a far greater honor than it seems. In a warrior nation where adding a sword to a crest without imperial approval means death, receiving permission to add a flag is a rare honor, and Noah struggles to hide his excitement over it. Later, Alan visits and watches Noah slowly walk over, explaining he already knows every type of feed sold and the routes used to transport it, so securing it will be easy, though he warns that the rebel leader Karun is ruthless and dangerous. A maid soon reports an injured man at the gate, and Noah finds a wounded knight who kneels and announces that a rebellion has begun in Almeria, admitting his own superior is involved, but saying he refused to join and came to warn the prince. Alan dismisses the effort as pointless since they already knew, but Noah thanks the knight, orders his injuries treated, and then rewards him with 1,000 coins. When Alan questions why he would pay for known information, Noah explains the reward is for the knight's loyalty and courage, not the report itself. That night, Zoe arrives at Noah's office looking deeply troubled. Zoe suddenly drops to the floor, and when Noah questions her, she hands him $500 and a small bottle, admitting that a mysterious man paid her to drug him and deliver him. Noah realizes the rebels are desperate for him, joking they are more relentless than spam ads, promising love nearby. When he asks why she confessed, Zoe breaks down and says she was threatened with death if she failed but could never betray him. Noah calmly writes her a $5,000 check, praising her for valuing loyalty over money, and insists she take it despite her refusal. Still crying, she agrees when he gives her a task. She must let him drink the medicine, deliver him to the men, and escape immediately afterward. Though terrified, Zoe follows his plan. Hours later, Noah wakes up in a remote area and overhears his captors arguing that killing him is a last option because Carvan wants him alive. He waits for the drug to fade before checking himself and discovers his arms and legs are bound. The rebels prove terrible at guarding him because they never realized Noah had hidden Leviathan in his ear instead of his usual place, so he pulled it out, restored it to full size, and used his magic ring to form a water blade to cut his ropes. He then checked his sword's memories and saw himself unconscious in his office, while Zoe escaped as the rebels surrounded him, ignored her, and dragged him onto an open carriage. With that confirmed, Noah approached the bandits resting by their campfire, leaped down with his sword, and listened as they mocked him and claimed his brother was not around to save him. One rebel stepped forward to recapture him, but Noah rushed first and slit his neck in a single strike. The others hesitated as Noah remarked that he only wanted answers and that none of them even knew the truth about who defeated the assassins. When they tried to fight back, he easily wiped them out. Moments later, Zoe arrived with a group of knights, explaining she had come to rescue him out of worry, only to find the rebels already defeated. Noah then summoned the knight's captain and ordered him to take the prisoners away. When a rebel drops a strange dagger and a knight reaches for it, Noah senses danger and stops him, ordering everyone back as he approaches the weapon, radiating cursed energy he can feel through Leviathan. He recalls the rebels mentioning a cursed dagger meant to kill him and briefly sees the face of the man who placed the curse, recognizing him as their leader and deciding to handle it himself. Noah asks Leviathan for help, and the legendary water sword responds by glowing, letting him fire a stream of cursed water into the sky that travels across the empire and strikes Carfun. The next day, the emperor summons Noah, praises him for the feat, and reports that the rebel leader was found dead with a water-made hole in his forehead, knowing only Noah could have done it. Noah explains he used the hatred in the dagger to track the man and snipe him from hundreds of miles away, and with their leader gone, Henry easily crushes the rebellion and all those involved are arrested. A grand court gathers to judge the rebels, and the emperor initially commands that they be drawn and quartered, which pleases the crowd. Noah then steps forward, kneels, and objects, shocking everyone, especially the emperor, who asks for an explanation. Noah argues that punishment must follow the law, which does not allow quartering. Instead, the rebel leaders should be split in half, and the rest sent to the gulag as written. The emperor questions why he should deny the rebels the harshest death, and Noah answers that breaking the law would damage the emperor's reputation and harm the people's trust. The court falls silent, and the emperor accepts Noah's reasoning, agreeing to follow the law while demanding the harshest penalties it permits without mercy. He orders the prime minister to enforce this ruling, and the court begins praising Noah for boldly correcting him and hailing him as a future legend. Pleased that Noah opposed him for the right reason, the emperor decides to reward him with a noble title, noting that it is not unusual for his children to challenge him, but it matters when they do so justly. Noah proves his wit and courage before the entire court, earning the emperor's praise and the new title of Wise Prince, which instantly updates his status. The emperor remarks that it would have been even better if Noah had been born 10 years earlier, sparking cheers from the court, though he avoids directly naming him a rival for the throne. When asked about the knight selection exam, Noah requests to explain his plan later, and the emperor agrees. At a fountain, Noah calmly drinks tea while 4 servants try to splash him with water, only for his ring shield to block every attack. He explains that he will have the examinees attack him the same way and judge them by how close they come to hitting him. The emperor admires the creativity but worries about the danger, and Noah confidently says he will handle anyone who breaks through his defense, earning further approval. That night, the prime minister criticizes the emperor's earlier comment, but the emperor laughs it off, saying Noah truly deserves it. Still, he worries about Leviathan's sealed power and orders a special treasure brought out, believing the sword's true seal must never be broken, though he wonders if Noah might be able to control its full strength. The long-awaited night selection of the Mills Empire finally arrives, an event named after the ancient word for warrior that reflects the nation's devotion to martial skill as the only path to status. This year draws an even larger crowd because Prince Noah Ararat serves as selection chief for the first time. When a candidate is ordered to strike him, Noah calmly sips tea as a magic accessory shields him, and repeated blows only shatter the attacker's sword. Watching from afar, Cruz remarks that the trials seem more exciting than usual, though the emperor only cares about the final choices and waits to see whom his son will select. The next challenger hurls a fire spell, surrounding Noah in flames and making the crowd tense, but another barrier forms and leaves him unharmed. As the sun begins to set, Noah worries that none of the contestants have impressed him. The final test features an armored warrior who steadies her nerves before lunging forward, and this time her blade pierces the ring's shield. Intent on destroying the barrier, the warrior presses on until the shield cracks and bursts apart, and her strike grazes the prince's arm before 2 guards seize her. Noah orders her release, asks her name, and she nervously introduces herself as Shirley Grants, only for him to unexpectedly approve her. Later, the sage visits her home and asks about her armor, which Shirley says is a family heirloom, then admits she does not understand why she passed after making such a mistake. Noah explains that although she injured him, he had commanded the attack and allowed it to happen, then orders her to strike him again. She obeys, focuses, and thrusts once more, but the ring's shield blocks it easily. He says he could have defended himself before and chose not to, since a knight's foundation is obedience, and he wanted to test whether Shirley would attack seriously on command, which she did both times. Pledging full loyalty to the Imperial Prince, Shirley stands proudly as Noah. Amused by her dramatic stance, checks her status and finds her growth the greatest among all candidates. Zoe arrives at the office with the court doctor Gutto Chloe to examine Noah, and though the prince thinks it is excessive, he accepts their concern. After checking him, the doctor reports the sword wound missed any bone or tendon. Noah notices Shirley's amazement and learns she has never seen medical treatment before because her village has no doctors, relying instead on prayers from the elder to cure illness, which the doctor says is common in poor areas. Deciding the fastest way to create doctors is through apprenticeship, Noah orders Shirley to bring bright children from her village so Gutto Chloe can train them, promising to pay all expenses so they can one day care for their people. Overcome with emotion, Shirley bows in gratitude, but Noah reminds her a knight should follow proper etiquette. The next day, Shirley comes out in her armor and meets Zoe, admitting she slept poorly because the room still feels unfamiliar, and remarks that even the servants' quarters are impressive for an imperial prince's residence. As they walk together, they overhear several maids gossiping about who the master's future wife might be. Shirley remarks that the prince is only 6, but Rihanna replies that imperial princes have married before 15, and when a maid proposes Lady Almeria's attendant as a match, most agree except Zoe, who calls the topic improper. Another worker says the discussion only proves the sage prince's popularity, noting cafes open near Noah's mansion because women gather to see him. And Rihanna adds that even Evelyn praises his kindness before teasing Zoe for studying magic to protect him. Flustered, Zoe claims it is only her duty and leaves. Later, Noah Ararat receives the knight selection report from Rowan, who praises the recruits and credits Noah's methods, earning the Knight Corps' thanks. And Noah writes a formal note of appreciation and orders an escort, while Shirley thanks Rowan, who advises her that following a great person leads to no mistakes if she keeps trying. That night, Noah hosts a party with Alici performing and Byron Allen attending with his daughter Cindy to celebrate the selection's success, explaining that many guests are merchants tied to the 13th Imperial Prince and strengthening those ties matters. After the song, Noah leads the applause, but Zoe brings him an unsigned letter from a fleeing messenger, and sensing danger, he reads it privately while claiming nothing is wrong despite Leviathan trembling. He concludes Almerian rebels remain active and that the sender is likely a loyal soldier secretly investigating them, then warns that acting as an intermediary could be fatal and decides to order Henry and Almeria to stop. Soon after, another letter arrives confirming the soldier was tortured, rescued by Henry's troops but left unconscious, and Noah blames himself for the suffering caused by keeping his secret. Shirley and Zoe argue, but the prince thinks this could have been prevented if he had acted sooner and followed his father's belief that information is a weapon. Still, he orders Zoe to contact Almeria and spend whatever is needed to keep the man alive with every doctor and medicine available, then decides that loyal people are worth more than a single piece of information. Later, Noah walks through the market with his knight, who's amazed by the sights and asks why he came, and he says he wants to buy a gift for his brother Henry to thank him for the rebellion and the letter. At Alan's shop, he is shown priceless new accessories whose shine leaves Shirley speechless, but Noah notices a cloth-covered item that looks different, and when it is revealed, it turns out to be a flawless glass statue made by the rare artisan Lindsay. Alan explains that the lost technique produced only 2 statues of this goddess, and Noah pays 10,000 plus a bonus for the unexpected treasure. Just then, his brother Oscar arrives, recognizes the statue as Lindsay's work, and reveals he owns the other one, shocking everyone, after which Noah calmly steps forward and smashes the statue on the floor. While Alan Barsley is still stunned, Noah gives him extra money for the trouble and tells him to spread the story that the second statue simply broke. Oscar praises Noah's quick thinking, noting that keeping only one statue will greatly increase its value, something he says he only learned after ruling his own territory. After the 8th prince departs, Noah turns his attention to finding another gift for his brother Henry, while a delighted Alan goes off to search for another item worthy of the sage. Near nightfall, after leaving the shop, Noah asks Shirley why she seems uneasy, and she admits she is still amazed by his actions, saying that even if she understands the reasoning, the statue was still an extremely high-grade treasure. Noah replies that the statue is just an object and not a true treasure, explaining that his real treasures are the people who risk their lives to bring him information, work hard to meet expectations, and swear loyalty to Noah Arat, and that Shirley grants is one of them. Deeply moved, Shirley vows to follow him for the rest of her life, while the young sage continues thinking only of gathering more treasures until the day he accepts a thief in adulthood. 6 years later, Noah Arat walks through the main corridor of his mansion as his servants bow, and accompanied by Shirley and Zoe, the 13th Imperial Prince of Mills, he heads toward the carriage waiting outside. Noah eats breakfast while Zoe serves him, but he keeps glancing at the new maid, Gigi, who is distracted by the scene outside the window. When he asks what is wrong, she explains that people are still lining up to deliver his birthday presents even after 3 days, which leaves her stunned. Zoe adds that last year the gifts arrived for a full week, making Gigi panic even more. Noah calmly explains that he cannot just accept the gifts and move on because he must record each one along with the sender, a task he entrusts to his reliable maid Evelyn so he can relax. After breakfast, Noah goes to the Ministry of Military Affairs, where the Emperor has assigned him to work. He meets the minister, the fourth Prince Henry, who greets him alongside a knight. Henry reveals an imperial order to dispatch an army led by Knight Captain Rias to crush a rebellion in the south, believing the overconfident barbarians must be overwhelmed by force, but he asks for Noah's judgment first. Noah agrees with the plan and, knowing Rias has proven himself in battle and serves directly under Henry, concludes that he is worthy of their trust. Before leaving, Henry asks how many soldiers are truly coming, making the knight hesitate and start sweating, which angers Henry and forces an explanation. Rias drops to the ground to apologize, but Noah intervenes and explains that generals receive funds based on reported troop numbers and some secretly list merchants and helpers to steal extra money. Rias apologizes again, earning Henry's fury, yet Noah tells them to calm down and says hiring extra workers and keeping a small cut is technically allowed. Henry then realizes that counting non-soldiers also makes their army seem larger and could intimidate enemies, and he praises Noah for seeing both the corruption and its possible benefit. However, Noah says they cannot use this trick now because the Emperor demands a perfect victory with no risks. He asks Rias how many fake soldiers he registered, and the knight admits it was about 2,000. Noah orders him to recruit the same number of real troops, leaving Rias no choice but to agree, then writes a note for the Ministry of Finance and tells him to deliver it. The note grants Rias funds equal to 2,000 soldiers for vague expenses, money he can secretly keep, which confuses the knight captain until Noah coldly explains it is payment for delivering a flawless victory. Henry admires how Noah manipulates every tool to motivate his men, and on the way back asks if he has ever seen real war. Noah admits he has not and checks his level 1 stats, since royal children are kept from battle because most die young from hidden assassinations disguised as illness, making them too valuable to risk unless the Emperor commands it. Henry says Noah is already 12 and should gain combat experience, and Noah replies he will fight when ordered, with Henry adding that his legendary sword will make it easy. Suddenly, the carriage stops when a girl runs in front of it begging for help, followed by other children chased from the alleys by thugs trying to kidnap them. The criminals seize the girls, and when Noah steps out and orders them to stop, they mock him and tell him to go home and drink his mother's milk. Noah ignores their taunts and instead asks for their registration number, reminding them that unlicensed slave trading is illegal. When they attack, he summons Leviathan and swiftly knocks them unconscious without killing them, shocking the crowd who does not recognize him. As he turns to calm the children, a frail old man appears and confesses to running the slave trade, warning Noah to stay away because he is backed by First Prince Gilbert. Noah realizes the man is likely one of Epstein's allies and weighs his response when the old man orders him to leave the girls and go. Refusing, Noah asks Henry if he knows the man and receives a denial, then says the same himself. Before the old man can speak further, Noah strikes him with Leviathan's cursed power and knocks him out. He declares that even insignificant criminals now dare to misuse the First Prince's name and that he and his brother will not be fooled even if others are. When someone identifies him as the wise prince, the crowd accepts his words. Noah orders the soldiers to deliver the men to the First Prince's residence for falsely invoking his name and decides to take the children home to comfort them. Henry praises Noah's sharp judgment and explains that if the men truly served Gilbert, he could not execute them. But he also could not allow the public to see a prince ignore illegal slave trading, so he exposed them as imposters and sent them to Gilbert, who would likely eliminate them as liabilities. During dinner, a message arrives from Gilbert, thanking them for catching criminals who used his name and claiming the prisoners poisoned themselves before trial, though Noah understands Gilbert silenced them. When Noah asks if Gilbert truly controls an underground slave trade, Henry agrees, noting Gilbert's reckless luxury must be funded by illegal dealings. And Noah suspects the slave trade and private estates hide something darker, surprising Henry with his insight. The next day, Noah tells the rescued children they are free to leave, but learns their own families sold them and would do so again, so he chooses to take them in himself. Noah instructs the butler to arrange lodging, work, and education for the girls, saying they are free to leave but betrayal will not be tolerated. When the butler leads them away, Noah recalls his belief that people are treasures and summons Evelyn, who reports on his birthday gifts. He cuts her off and hands her an envelope, revealing she is dismissed from maid service so she can govern a region of his territory. Shocked by the sudden rise from servant to mayor, Evelyn hesitates, but Noah insists her intelligence would be wasted serving him and that her success will reflect his judgment. He orders her to depart and begin her duties, which she accepts. Soon after, Noah is summoned by the Emperor to defend Gilbert's honor, and he explains he only meant to save the children and catch the criminals, realizing Gilbert reported the matter first to protect himself. The Emperor laments that such vile criminals still exist in the world. Noah is asked about the punishment and explains that the leader will lose his right arm while the others are sent to serve in the army. The Emperor notes that Noah arrested them openly instead of going undercover and taking a beating, which leads the Prime Minister to joke that such an act would count as a crime against the imperial family and warrant execution. When Noah questions this, he clarifies that if the Emperor were unrecognized, it would only be assault, not an imperial crime, and the court falls silent as he fears he spoke too boldly. Before he can apologize, the emperor laughs, reveals he won a wager on Noah's legal knowledge, and names him Minister of Justice. The court celebrates him as the second prince after Henry to hold the role, while Noah remains uncertain as the emperor and prime minister share pleased looks. That evening, he attends Alishi's performance but stays distracted, sensing a hidden motive behind his promotion before choosing to enjoy the show. Elsewhere, the prime minister brings the emperor troubling news, which he leaves him to manage while he turns to a more urgent matter of his own. If you're enjoying the journey of this series, please hit that like and subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any updates. All of your support helps me to keep bringing more high-quality recaps.